Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Good morning, Belize. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm here on a Monday morning.
You are
so
here on a
of course
Monday.
I'm doing great.
Aww.
It's always awesome to start the week with with being on Open Your Eyes and to start the week with our viewers. And so I'm excited to be here this morning. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to look forward to this week, you know.
Yeah.
It's just about taking the bull by the horn and getting ready for the week. I see that it's a bit rainy outside.
Yes.
I checked my weather app instantly when I woke up and I realized that it may be raining for a bit today, at least in Belize City. I'm not sure what other parts of the country look like, but it's Monday morning, right? And it's January the 20th. But we actually still have 2 more weeks in January, and I feel like we've already gone through a month of January already. So January is just one of those months that we have to embrace and accept because we only get it once a year.
You only get it once a year, Paul. You're absolutely right. We're starting the Monday morning fresh here on January 20th. We are almost at the end of this January month, and you know, for us that it's going by very quickly. Some people are saying it's taking too long to end, but guys, we are here. We're so happy to have you start your morning right with us here on Open Your Eyes. As Paul mentioned, we have a lot to discuss this morning, so let's just jump right into our What's Buzzing for today.
All right, so April, the lights are on in here, but yesterday the lights went dark, at least for one app in the United States, and of course that's the beloved TikTok app. When a lot of individuals, a lot of users opened the app in the US from Saturday night, in fact, into Sunday morning, they came across a message from TikTok itself saying that the app is down and that they should be patient because they're working things out with President Trump, who will be inaugurated today actually, to get the app back up and running. So this all, of course, sent a lot of users into panic mode, into hysteria. In fact, TikTok has 150 million users in America. And then there are those, and some people are saying, oh, well, it not affect Belizeans. Well, there are those Belizeans that may have downloaded and set up their apps while in the US. So those apps are registered as US apps, at least the IP addresses in the US, and then they came back to Belize, and they too were locked out. I saw several Belizeans from the US in Belize, and they too were locked out. So that caused panic across America and some in Belize here as well.
I think what my you know, I realize that social media has a way of binding the world together in a particular space that might seem a little bit you know, unorthodox, if you will. And I was scrolling on TikTok between Saturday and Sunday just to kind of see if any changes or if it would affect me in any kind of way with my account. So I kept scrolling and so forth. And indeed, there were a lot of users that I would follow that their pages were no longer available. But there were, I also enjoyed really watching as soon as the shutdown happened and it went dark for America. I'm not sure if you realize this, but the algorithm kind of switched a little bit, and a lot of users from across the world started to pour into my app. And that tells you really the power
The
of
influence.
the influence of American influencers, if you will,
Yeah.
that are on TikTok. It was quite extraordinary that all of a sudden I'm getting users from Romania, I'm getting users from Ireland,
Even the
Australia, the Caribbean. Like they started to come up more on the For You page, kind of like just, I guess, replacing all of those other users and influencers that would have normally taken up that slot. But like, not, I think 24 hours later, less than 24 hours later,
about 8 to 12 hours.
they were back online.
Here's the thing though, April. I understand the US's concerns because TikTok is owned by a company that is owned by the Chinese, ByteDance.
Yeah.
And I understand the US's concerns because China is one of the US's primary adversaries, if you would, right? When you're thinking geopolitically. And what TikTok does, it gathers all this data, right? It from American users and from users across the globe. And the US is concerned that this data, personal data on your movements, on your activities, connecting to people's Wi-Fi at home and Wi-Fi at businesses and companies, that it could compromise the security of the US in general. And listen, data is huge in today's day and age. And you could use that data against your enemy if you would, and you could sell that data,
Paul,
you could do so many things with
but
that data.
But you can say that about all applications, right?
That's 100%
and most
true.
applications are made and ran in the United States. I personally look at it as an economic war, really, more so than anything else. These giant superpower countries are vying to be the #1 superpower country. When we think about the United States, we think about the land of the free and all of these lands of opportunities and so forth. And slowly they have been getting a different type of reputation for the past, I believe, 10 years or so, right? Where we have now China kind of coming up on stream. You have Russia behind them. So we have all of these superpowered countries trying to fight for this #1 slot. And with the US kind of banning TikTok, it kind of sent this message that we want our users, we want our businesses, our American funded businesses to take up precedence in the United States anyway. I mean, that's what Trump stood for, America first and all of that
and
stuff.
we also don't want our data, we don't want data in large caches as TikTok collects to be used against us by our adversaries.
I feel
honestly,
like that's the propaganda,
well,
but I feel like there's a lot more to it than just
foundation on, it's the foundation on which
Mark Zuckerberg knows exactly what we're doing now.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook, I believe they are US based, and they're not owned by a foreign or a parent company that's owned by a foreign entity.
Indeed, and that's why I mean, like, I could tell you we could have this conversation all day, because just as TikTok went down, Instagram came, which is also US owned by Mark Zuckerberg, is part of the metaverse. They started to create updates and features that resemble what you could have done on TikTok. So they were already preparing to basically become that next space where TikTok would have been.
Yeah, in any
right?
event,
so you have this fight. Sorry.
No.
We could go on
like
about
the
this.
Conversation. In any event, with the stroke of a pen or the click of fingers, the President Donald Trump, who will be inaugurated today, he basically issued a statement saying that service providers, because what happens is TikTok, though it is owned by ByteDance, it requires American servers. So servers based in America, operated and run by Americans, they are the one who pushes out the app. And so basically what President Donald Trump said is, hey, you service providers, you will not be penalized for providing this service to Americans. And basically that triggered the re-emergence, if you would, of TikTok, and everybody breathed a sigh of relief. But I'm sure the security concerns remain, and it is yet to be seen if this Supreme Court ruling would be adhered to, whereby basically they have to sell TikTok to an American company or to Americans so that Americans can run it.
And there goes the economic
Yeah, well,
space,
I can't argue that.
But speaking of, just sticking to the international bit of news and so forth, also something important that happened yesterday on January 19th was the official ceasefire deal in Gaza. Now, we haven't really been talking that much about what was happening in Palestine and Israel, but there was, of course, that 15-month war that was taking place between on Palestine, on Gaza, kind of started in October of 2023, right? It was 15 months of just back and forth war in Gaza and so forth, and there was a particular deal that was finally struck with the Israeli government that they had to officially cease fire in Gaza yesterday, January 19th. So the ceasefire deal between Israel and Palestine group Hamas has gone into full effect in Gaza, allowing more than 2 million Palestinians in the enclave some respite after 15 months of devastating war. Yeah. The first 6-week phase of the ceasefire agreement will see some of the Israeli captives held in Gaza released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. A gradual Israeli withdrawal to Gaza's borders with Israel, and a huge increase in access for humanitarian aid.
Yeah, so one end of the world you have this cyber economic war taking place, and then on the other end, on another side of the world, you had this literal war with bombshells dropping, people losing their lives, more so on the Gaza Strip than in Israel, but both parties suffered for sure. Yeah. There were hostages that were held as well.
Yes, some hostages were released yesterday.
Correct, the agreement led to them being released as well. And so, all in all, what we want here, because this came as a huge concern to Belizeans as well, just looking on it, because at the end of the day, we're all humans, and this is humanity we're talking about. What we want is to see this ceasefire, to see people live in as peaceful a manner as possible. And the goal, I believe, from here is to rebuild. Yes. And to ensure that the situation does not escalate again. And this is only a ceasefire. This is not the complete solution for this situation. We're talking about decades and decades of oppression on one end, and people imposing their will on another people. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, there has to be a permanent solution to the situation, a two-nation, a two-state solution, if you would. And I believe that's what we here in Belize are pushing for, but it may mean also that Belize will reestablish its diplomatic ties with Israel once again on both sides of the coin. So we'll see. So
we're keeping tabs on this particular news item. I think that for us in Belize, it's rather important. We just had a Palestinian ambassador here last week visiting us. I think when we think about Palestine in Belize, I don't know for the majority of Belizeans how close of a ties we have with them. In the 70s and 80s, we had a large influx of Palestinians that were migrating to Belize, escaping this particular hostile environment within Gaza, within the Middle Eastern areas and so forth. So we do have strong connections. We have political leaders and influential heroes and historians in Belize that have ties to Palestine. And so we're going to keep a closer eye on this particular news item for now. This is the first phase of that ceasefire. Now, let's bring things a bit local in terms of what's buzzing, April. And this is one of my favorite topics to discuss. Yes, I know.
It has to do with sports. It used to be politics, I used to love talking about politics. And then I fell in love with sports, and now I actually...
You live, breathe, and eat sports.
It's way more easier on the mind and easier on life in general to be attached to sports than it is to be attached to politics.
Is it? Because you guys fight about sports more than most things.
Exactly. It's almost a beast in the same cage. The beast in the same cage, though it's different in nature. But here in Belize right now, people are gearing up. Basketball fans are gearing up for the Belize, basically Elite League or Belize Premier Basketball League, which has been running for almost a decade here in Belize. But the question this year is, one, if we'll even have a league, and two, if we'll have two leagues, in fact, because while the BBL after last season, it kind of went dormant.
Yes.
Right? And there were some meetings, I understand, that were held late in the year last year to kind of revive it for the 2025 season, but those meetings didn't pan out. So what happened was the CEO of a former BBL team, the Hurricanes, he decided that, you know what, these meetings aren't happening. It doesn't seem as if the BBL will come to life in 2025. Let's propose a new league, the Belize Premier Basketball League. And so now we have basically two leagues on the table, wondering which league will take shape, which league will take form, and which league will fans attend this year in terms of which one will play out. And right now it's a small issue. But we know how these things could flare up, and it could become a major issue where all the dirty laundry is aired out on social media, is aired out in the media, because this is really what happens, or what we've seen happen in basketball here in Belize, at least at this level. But over the weekend, we got a chance to speak to two-time MVP of the Belize Elite Basketball League, Nigel Jones, at an event here in Belize City, and we just wanted his take on what is playing out right now, and what he thinks in terms of the league this year. And here's what he told us. How are you feeling at this time about playing in the league this year?
Well, honestly, bro, I think that it could work. I just feel like with the two leagues, whatever they're trying to figure out right now, I think it's possible. I just feel like if we're going to make it work, it has to be two different times of the year. Because I've seen it happen in other countries that I've played in before. They have the top league that plays in it for a certain group of time, and then when that season is done, the following league starts right after that. So I just feel like, it's going to take cohesiveness. I feel like everybody's going to have to want to come together and work, and it can't be about egos or I did this or I did that. So I feel like, just going into the season, we have to give the fans and the people that come out and support something that they want to enjoy watching. So, because I feel like without them, it's not possible.
All right, and so there you had it from Nigel Jones. He is definitely one of the more prominent basketball players here in Belize. And what he told us on the side is that he has to make a decision because offers are already coming in from other leagues in other countries. And so they have to get their act here together in Belize for him to really decide what's best for himself and his family.
That's what I was going to say, because it's a little confusing, to have two leagues.
Yeah.
And whether or not you are a Hurricanes fan, a Defenders fan, or any of the other teams' fans, how would that even work, having two leagues?
Well,
it could different seasons.
Right,
how would it work?
It could be that you have one league playing first, and then another league playing after that season.
It's a little, concerning in the sense of basketball season layout in Belize. It's a little slow to start sometimes, and this kind of reminds me of the different factions in the political parties, but I'm not going to get into that, right?
You see, that's good, that's good.
No, but for example, if he's saying that team players having all of these different rules and so forth as to what they would require to be a part of their team or their league, and it's already January, that's for us to have seen the first season kind of starting in February. So that means that certain teams don't have an entire team together yet, and and all of these things. So that already kind of gives you a slow start to the season. Will they have a season? We normally get a lot of our players coming in from the United States and so forth. So like he rightfully mentioned, other countries are looking for contracts, so you know, to contract some of these persons. So we're gonna see if we even have a first season, because I think we would have already started, right? February?
No, usually start end of February,
Yes.
early March. But if I did know better, I would think that you're glued to basketball and these sorts of sports in Belize. But April, that should do it
That
for our
does it for our What's Buzzing.
This morning, what we want to do right now is we want to jump into our Eye on the News. Some great discussions here in What's Buzzing. Well, we have some more for you in our Eye on the News. All right, so we'll start our Eye on the News discussion this morning with a topic that we left off on Friday. I headed out to San Pedro town, the beautiful La Isla Bonita.
Did you get a berrita?
I was on the job.
You were on the job?
I was on the job.
But you went to San Pedro?
Yes, but I went to San Pedro, and we were basically called out because there's clashes taking place between taxi operators on the island and golf cart rentals. Now here's the gist of the issue. Taxi operators are saying that they customarily station themselves at point of entries on the island. So you're talking the water taxis, you're talking the 2 municipal airports, wherever, those are essentially the points of entry. And they're saying that over the last 2 to 3 years, the golf cart rentals have been slowly imposing their presence at these locations, but not necessarily to pick up passengers or patrons that have pre-booked golf carts, more so to solicit customers. So to bring their golf carts, park out there, and we're talking on this island, you have dozens of golf cart rental companies. In fact, when we did our research, we found that more than 14,000 golf carts are registered on the island itself. But I didn't get the breakdown in terms of how many are golf cart rentals, etc.
Right.
But so they're imposing their presence, these golf cart rentals, and they're soliciting customers. So they go there, they park, and they say, hey, we could rent you a golf cart, whether tourists or locals. And if they don't want a golf cart, they might say, hey, we could, reports are they're saying, hey, we could charge you a cheaper fee to take you where you need to go than the taxis would. So the taxi companies are saying that one, it is within the golf cart rentals trade license that they're mandated to operate from their office.
Yes.
That they can't operate from a point of entry, and that they can only go to these point of entries when they're picking up customers that are pre-booked, and that basically this is taking bread and butter out of their mouths. Now the golf cart rentals are saying, though this is law in fact, what the taxi renters are saying is true, the golf cart rentals are basically saying, yes, but one, competition is good, and two, people need cheaper options for moving around, and we need to be there to show tourists that they have this option available on the island. So after this story aired, a lot of people in the comments, April, I'm telling you, a lot of people are siding with the golf cart rentals. Though they are doing something that in essence is illegal. In fact, here there's one rental that has even set up shop at the point of entry. The point of entry, the water taxi place, the San Pedro Belize water taxi place, which the mayor is saying may be illegal because they may not have a permit to operate there. A lot of residents on the island are saying that the taxis are too costly, that the taxi operators are charging them way too much for a run. In fact, when I spoke on the ground with one of the golf cart rental operators, he's saying that whereas a taxi might charge you $100 US in some cases, and this may be an exaggerated number, it could be less, to take tourists from the water taxi to Secret Beach, which is a long distance, the golf cart rentals charge tourists $40 US to rent the golf cart for the entire day, right? Yes. But The issue here is that tensions are increasing, and we received footage of a couple physical altercations taking place at point of entries, and now we know that this is not good for the tourism industry, because all of this is playing out in front of tourists.
Yeah.
The fight for customers, basically letting out anger and rage in front of tourists as well. None of this is good for the tourists, and so I believe that the area representative and the mayor has their hands full in trying to resolve this issue.
So there was a point where I believe a year before or so, where Minister Andre Perez did say that they were going to stop issuing licenses for golf carts to come into the island, and they were going to try to remove the ones that are not operating, as well as vehicles and taxis. Because I don't know, Paul, if you've ever been stuck in traffic in San Pedro.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It's the worst. And for it to be an island and to have that much traffic with so many vehicles and so forth, taking space on the road, there is no walking space. Once you leave the beachfront and you go into the actual town itself, there is no walking space for you to get from point A to point B. And yes, I can safely say taxi rates in San Pedro are exorbitant.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I know for a fact.
They are horrendous. And it would be much cheaper if you were going to charge me even 50 US, because I remember a taxi was trying to beat down the price, and then he heard my accent. And so he's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to give you for 50.
Yeah.
And I said, but that's still $100 Belize dollars. So it's quite exorbitant, and yes, you might as well just rent a golf cart if that's the case.
Correct.
But I think the island itself, and you just said 14,000 golf carts.
Correct. That's when we looked at the master list.
How big is Ambergrisky?
Yeah.
How big is San Pedro for 14,000 golf carts? That is over too much.
Yeah, so it's one of those issues we're looking at keenly, April, and seeing how authorities will try to find broker common grounds between both parties to ensure that the pie is shared equally, because when you have this oversaturation, what ends up happening is the big pie gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
But sticking on the islands, April, for a second conversation on What's Buzzing, we have to talk about the issue of public access to beaches on these islands as well. It's one of those issues that were also raised last week. In fact, on George Price Day, we saw where the chair lady of the Key she and her council took action by removing a wooden barricade on a public road that a resident had placed, and basically preventing access to that public road by the general public. And it basically opened a can of worms, because what we're discussing now is the properties, basically private properties and investors, preventing the general public from accessing beaches on Key Cocker and in San Pedro, because they barricade off these beaches and declare them as their own. I could tell you of experiences visiting these islands and being prevented from walking along certain beaches because investors are even saying with their security that, hey, this is not a public beach, you cannot be here. When in fact, the law clearly states that all beachfronts are public beachfronts, and that the public should have access to it. We're talking about a 60-feet buffer here, right? And so what I believe is happening, I believe that these investors and these property owners have been emboldened by a lackadaisic, if you would, or a soft-handed approach from authorities in terms of enforcing the law. And then, of course, money talks in terms of your investors with these big finances. You're coming in, you're building the economy, you're providing jobs. And so it's easier prefer, and I'm not accusing anyone of this, but to turn a blind eye, right, than to address the issue and take the bull by the horn and say, yes, investor, you come with the big money, you bring the big bucks, but at the end of the day, these beaches are for the people.
So this is not the first time we've seen something like this, Paul. I recall many years ago, actually, when we were discussing the expat situation in Placencia. And I recall that there was not an altercation per se, but there was conflict with the village council, the villagers, and the expats that were, buying these properties on the beach. Because, as you know it, the popular Lobster Fest is normally held on the beach.
Correct.
And there were these, persons that were buying properties saying, and particularly foreigners really, that were saying that's too much noise, they don't want that, they bought this particular space and
so
they bought it
off.
with the beach and they blocked it and they didn't want, and so I remember that particular year Lobster Fest had to be taken on the boardwalk and so forth. And I said to myself, this is clearly an issue. You have these foreigners that are buying your property and so forth. But then that brought me to the topic of what Minister Perez said, where we're not sure how the realtors are selling
what they're
these,
advertising.
what are they advertising, because you rightfully saying by law all beach fronts are public. It doesn't matter if you have your house there. If there is a beach space, I am allowed to walk across it. And that's why you have all of these different resorts and so forth, that regardless if they have beachfront that is their property and so forth, citizens, the public, can go and swim in that water.
I used Placencia as an example last week when it was raised, because when I visited Placencia in the middle of last year, I stayed at a resort I haven't stayed before, right? And I realized that you could actually walk, and people from St. Bites were walking from St. Bites to Placencia on the beach in areas they could walk, of course. And I said, man, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. And then, of course, there's the issue with docks on Hamburgers Key as well, where once you buy a piece of property, you believe that it is your right to put a dock as well, and you own that dock. Well, where's that dock? That dock is in the sea, and a part on the public beach. Who owns the ocean? Who owns the public beach, right?
We're heading into some very, very strange territory when it comes to the law.
There, no pun intended. And so it's one of those issues we'll continue to follow, but the bottom line is that the law is the law, and that residents of these islands and the public in general should have access. Now, finally, for our Eye on the News conversations this morning, April, we have to touch briefly on an issue that played out in Belmopan last week that really brought a larger issue to the fore, and that has to do with individuals that are mentally unwell or mentally unstable roaming the streets, whether it's individuals that are some sort of drug, some sort of substance, just really unstable mentally, or alcoholics. And what happened was that a mentally unstable man, he got into a physical altercation with a group of students from the Belmopan Comprehensive High School. And this altercation led to the student being cut to the side, receiving a serious injury with a box cutter that this individual had. And I've seen arguments on both sides of the coin. One saying that these young men disturbed this individual in a manner they shouldn't have. At least that's what the video is showing. But then there are others who are saying that the first part of the video isn't being shown, where this individual asked them for $1, and when they were unable to provide him with $1, that he attacked them. Violent. So again, going to the comments, not only to the comments now, Belmopan, I hear from people in Belmopan.
Yes.
And what they're saying is that this individual is dangerous to the community. They're saying you have pregnant women You have good citizens saying that he have launched attacks against them when they were unable to basically fulfill his request for money, and that he is a dangerous individual, and that they need to deal with him and others like him that pose a threat to residents in the city. But it brings to the fore a larger societal issue and a larger conversation, because there are also conversations about individuals that are basically thrown out on the streets across the city because they are strung out on some sort of drugs or strung out on alcohol, and basically they live on the streets, and they also pose a security threat to residents. I did a story on mental health a couple years back, especially with men in these positions, and one of the things I found is that there isn't enough in Belize, enough facilities, isn't enough professional care in Belize to really deal with and address this issue. And perhaps Belmopan is ground zero at this point, and we need to begin to see how we can exercise some sort of solution there.
Like you rightfully mentioned, Paul, this is a larger social issue. It kind of delves into different fields. When it comes to these men, and particularly they are men in Belmopan and in Belize City as well, and in other parts of the country.
One or two women here and there.
Yes, where we see that they are clearly struggling with something. A lot of the times, particularly for us in Belmopan, we really know these individuals. They're probably somebody we went to school with. You know, some of them, like for example, this man on the tape, I don't think he is a Belmopan resident.
No, he was in Belize City.
He was in Belize City at some point, and we've had those cases. I recall seeing one that was in Dangriga and then made their way into Belmopan, right? I don't know how we can even begin to start tackling this issue when it comes to excessive use of drugs and how they get it, and of course getting addicted to it and so forth. You're absolutely right. We don't have a lot of facilities that cater and assist to this particular issue. But you know, we do have a lot of individuals out there, Paul, with social work degrees, with psychology degrees. They're not, you know, they're probably working at a call center, right? Because they can't get a particular job in order to assist and so forth. And these types of persons, they need that kind of care. They need rehabilitation. There is a particular young man that is extremely smart and, you know, got hooked up on something. So like you said, it's a greater issue to talk about. Let us know in the comment section below what you think about these different topics and so forth, covered in What's Buzzing and on Eye on the News. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you thought about the topics today, or if there are any topics that you would want to see us discuss here on What's Buzzing and Eye on the News. You can catch these stories and more in our newscast tonight at 6 p.m. On your local cable live on 5 or on Facebook and YouTube. That does it for Eye on the News.
All right, so now we're going to move into our weather for this morning. As we said, it was a bit raining this morning, and at least my weather app tell me that it might rain for the rest of the day. But you know what? Let's hear from the pros at the National Met Service.
Yes.
Good morning. A slightly moist north to northeasterly airflow will prevail. The forecast is for partly cloudy to cloudy skies with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms, mainly along the coast at first, then over most areas this afternoon. Cloudy spells can be expected tonight with a few showers and isolated thunderstorms, mostly over the south. High temperatures will peak at only 83 Fahrenheit along the coast, 84 Fahrenheit inland, and 76 Fahrenheit up in the hills. Overnight temperatures will drop to 76 Fahrenheit over the coast, 68 Fahrenheit inland, and 64 Fahrenheit up in the hills. Winds will blow from the north to northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and sea conditions will be light to choppy. A low tide can be expected at 8:24 this morning, and high tide occurs at 13 minutes after 2 this afternoon. The moon will set at 10:45 this morning and the sun will set at 5:41 this evening. In the outlook, a few showers will continue to affect coastal and northern areas Tuesday morning, decreasing in the afternoon. Showers will redevelop over most areas late Tuesday night. And that concludes this morning's weather report from the National Meteorological Service. For more information, you can log on to our website at nms.gov.bz.
All right. Thank you so much to the folks at the National Meteorological Service for that weather update. Moving into our show lineup for this morning, in our first conversation, we're going to be talking to the Belize Poultry Association as they share their insight in the increasing case of avian influenza, commonly known as bird flu, and how Belize could prepare itself for a possible outbreak.
And then our second conversation, we'll be having a discussion with the president of the Belize National Teachers Union, and they'll be in to share with us how they're fighting against what is deemed as injustices and delayed salaries for Belizean teachers.
And we're going to switch gears in our third conversation as we discuss the journey of the Global Leadership Summit and how you can empower the leader in you. But before we get into all of that and more, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's all about how to spot and prevent bird flu. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
This is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa. the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
Let's take a journey through the core functions of the Social Security Board. It all starts with registering as an insured person, employer, or self-employed individual. Sign up for a portal account to manage your Social Security information online. Just provide accurate information and click Create. This will give you access to a range of services and benefits. Next, your contribution, along with investments and other income, are collected and distributed into 3 funds. This ensures that the SSB fund is securely utilized to support various benefit programs. The SSB is committed to providing essential benefits such as sickness, maternity, injury, and pension. These benefits are paid out to eligible individuals as a part of the Social Security coverage. We help you navigate through life's challenges with financial security. Annual surplus accumulates to grow the fund each year. This surplus is invested into various industries, contributing to the growth and development of our nation. With each passing year, the fund continues to grow due to the annual surplus and interest revenue earned from prudent investments. This surplus, along with reserves, helps to bolster the SSB fund and provide a safety net for those in need. We've arrived at the end of our journey to better understanding how the SSB works. We remain committed to serving you and building a secure future for all Belizeans.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and thank you for joining us in our first conversation. It's all about how to spot and prevent bird flu. And joining us for this conversation, we have manager at the Belize Poultry Association, Mr. Armando Cole. Good morning. Good morning. And vet from the Belize Poultry Association, Dr. Victor Gongora. Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. So I guess we should just jump right in and talk about what is avian influenza itself, bird flu, and how it spreads.
Okay.
Let's start with you, Doc.
Avian influenza is caused by an influenza virus, and we have different types, A, B, C, but type A is the one that's of most concern because it affects a lot of species, including humans, and we have been worried about avian influenza since about 1996 when there were initial outbreaks in Asia, and since then there's been ongoing waves and cycles of infection, and it has then been spread by wild birds, and then we usually would have a cycle between Asia and Europe, and then in 2021 December there was a wild bird migration from Europe to Canada in Newfoundland, and since then we have had avian influenza throughout the Americas, even went down to Argentina, and now we're worried about Antarctica because of the biodiversity.
Right.
And we're finding that it's not only now a disease of wild birds, but it's also common in poultry, whether it's commercial or backyard. And it has also spread to mammals. So we've had some wild mammals in the US. We've also had some seals and other sea animals. And we're also now recently, last year in March, we had the first case in the US in dairy cattle. Nowhere else has reported it, only the US. And it is an ongoing outbreak right now in the US. And from those infections in the US with poultry and cattle, we're finding that people that are exposed to it or other animals exposed to let's say unpasteurized milk or raw poultry products, especially like in dog food or cat food that is of raw products, they can get infected with avian influenza. So it's a worldwide concern right now.
How does it spread? What's the reason that other animals and I guess us humans can contract it?
The most likely source would be the handling an infected animal.
Okay.
So for us humans, handling without having precautions, or with animals being direct contact or exposed to secretions from an infected animal. So for example, if I'm into hunting and I go into a pond where there's a lot of wild birds, a lot of waterfowls, and then I go home and I don't wash my hands and I don't clean my boots, I can carry infection from that water reservoir into my farm or into my house, and then I can get infected because, you know, you're handling your eyes, your nose,
Yeah.
and so you can transmit that infection. So it's always, you know, the biosecurity and washing your hands before you handle
gloves.
your food stuff when you get home.
What
or
are
handling animals.
what are the symptoms that poultry, those who deal with poultry, should look for, even the wild birds around there? I don't know, bird watchers, I guess. What are the symptoms of this bird flu?
The symptoms can vary just as in humans, where you can have from mild or even no clinical signs to mild to very severe. It all depends on the strain of the virus that is infecting the bird or the animal, as well as our own immune system. So, but on average, it's influenza tells you it's a respiratory virus. So you will most likely see respiratory signs. So you see conjunctivitis, you know, coughing, sneezing.
Chickens cough?
Yes, and sneeze.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
and sometimes we have some problems with that. So we're always on the lookout for respiratory symptoms, because it's not just avian influenza that can cause respiratory symptoms in birds, but you also have avian infectious bronchitis. You have other diseases. And so because it's a flu, then you're going to get flu-like respiratory symptoms. But because it is a systemic virus, then once it hits the whole body, then you can have diarrhea, you can also have neurological signs, depending on the system where the virus is mostly attacking.
Now, let's bring Mr. Kawo into the conversation. I'd like to know how we as consumers can protect ourselves. How do we know, or can we become aware that we're not consuming poultry that's infected?
Good morning. Basically, we have systems in place that prevents that. Together with the regulatory body and BAHA, we do have a system that birds that would show symptoms of AI would not reach a consumer, any at all. Although it's safe to eat, you know. Once
It's
you cook
safe
it,
to eat.
once you cook it, it's safe to eat. It's unsafe when it's raw. Like if you take the and you not cook it properly.
You know, wash it well.
How about handling it?
Yeah.
Well, you got to sanitize, right?
Yeah.
Wear gloves.
Not necessarily gloves, but you have to wash your hands properly and apply alcohol. But basically, it won't reach the market. That's the bottom line. We have systems in place. We have traceability systems. We can trace back from the plant to where the chicken went and recall it.
Do you really put masks on chickens? I saw.
It's a dinosaur disease.
No, I saw.
There it is.
No. It's just
Yeah, for
The concept is
awareness.
it's just for awareness.
So,
right?
so you have systems in place.
Yeah, we do have systems in place.
What's the initial step in detecting the infection, if it is to occur here in Belize?
Okay, we have a national surveillance and monitoring and testing, sampling and testing program that we work with. Again, BAHA as the authority in Belize. We do it twice a year. We collect samples in June and in November.
Okay.
Sorry, March to June, September, November, which are the basically where the peaks are. We do sampling and testing. We send technicians out there to collect samples, serum samples, and those go to the lab for testing and evaluation. And if there's any red flag there, then we would send it outside to the US lab, the National Veterinary Services Lab of the US, which is the reference lab for Belize. And once they confirm, then we say yes, we have it. But unless it's not confirmed by NBSL, then basically we're free, we're good to go.
Can the chickens be treated once they've contracted this disease?
No, may I say something? One, I want to clarify to the public that we don't have an avian influenza outbreak in
Yes,
because
yes,
usually
correct.
they would say, where are you talking about avian influenza and why are you saying all of this because you have an outbreak or you're hiding something? No, we don't have. We're just doing it as a public awareness information. And what Mr. Kawa was talking about is what we would call the active surveillance, because as I said, avian influenza can have different signs, and if it goes undetected, then it can be there, and then all of a sudden we get a big outbreak. So that what he described was, if it is out there, we want to know if it is out there.
Right.
If it's low pathogenic. Now, with the highly pathogenic form, the birds are going to die. So we depend on the farmers or people that have poultry or are not even cattle, if you have any signs with mastitis in cattle and whatnot, that you would report it to the authorities. So we're out there with Ministry of Agriculture, with BAHA, and encouraging farmers to report any unusual signs, any unusual mortality. And in fact, BAHA, any sample that goes from poultry to BAHA lab, they would do a cross-check for avian influenza. So regardless of what's the cause, once they get a sample in the lab, they're going to ensure that there's no avian influenza in that sample. So that has helped a lot to give us that assurance that, okay, the birds are dying, but it's not due to avian influenza. Because, I mean, there's wild animals, wild birds all over the place.
Yes.
You can easily get exposed, taking droppings from infected wild bird into your barn. So it's very important that farmers would call if they have any problems with mortality or any unusual signs in their birds. And we're happy that BAHA can do all the diagnostic that is required. So they can do blood samples, or they can take tissue samples, and they can do advanced molecular testing to tell us if it is the avian influenza, and then to tell us if it is avian influenza, is it the one of concern, which is H5, H7, which can affect humans. So as Mr. Kawa said, the BAHA lab can tell us that. So we can go into a high alert, we can go into high suspect, and then it goes to the NVSL to confirm. If it is confirmatory, then we know we have to continue with all the quarantine measures and control measures that are put in place. But we don't wait till we get the NVSL confirmation. Once we get a highly suspect, then we would proceed.
Is it detrimental to humans?
The avian influenza, it can cause human infections. People, right now there was a recent death in Louisiana from a man that was 65-year-old man that was exposed to avian influenza. I believe he was exposed to either wild birds or backyard poultry. But so in the U.S., the CDC is following up on all human cases as to where they got exposed. And most of them have been from dairy cattle, and some from infected poultry, and some they don't know where they got the infection from.
Mr. Kawa, what measures are poultry producers in Belize putting into place and are required to put into place to prevent these sort of infections?
Biosecurity.
Biosecurity.
That's the key word here.
Wow.
Biosecurity is just a system of different actions and tools that you can use to ensure that your barn is secured. That's the most important thing. You heard Doctor was saying that the wild birds can come around, and so if you have your barn properly enclosed, that the wild bird can enter and mingle with your poultry, that's what we call biosecurity. If you have limitations, you see there's like how you go to some business and you say restricted or employees only and so on. We do the same thing with the barns. We just put biosecurity in effect, restricted area, so not anybody can just walk around the barn or go into the barns.
Right.
So these are measures that we take, and then we try to work with the farmer to make sure that they follow them. Because sometimes the wire would have a tear because of the rust, and so the coop would have a tear that maybe a bird can go in. So we steadily ask them to check. We have a checklist for farmers to check.
And I know you all work within the Poultry Association and you have a large membership. But perhaps for some of the farmers that are not a part of your association, your small farmers that have their coops in the yard, or your rural homes that have their coops in the yard, are you all speaking to them as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we also respond to their phone calls, as the good doctor said. Whenever the farmer sees an issue, and they call us, we respond. But if they don't call us, we cannot respond. And I'll give you a classic example. We had Newcastle disease in Toledo. It's a respiratory disease just like AI. And people were just saying on social media, oh, birds are dying in my village, but no one was actually telling us. And we found this in retrospect, we found out that social media was full of these comments.
Wow.
Until someone called us and say, hey, in my village, people are throwing away birds by bagful. And we were like, okay, something is wrong. So we sent a team down there. We found out it was Newcastle, and we took measures. So we do help the small farmer, and we also give them tips on how to manage their little coops so that, but sometimes some people don't have coops.
Yeah.
They have the birds flying
Free range, yeah.
all over the place, and even at night, they will just jump on the nearest tree and sleep there. And
so that's not encouraged?
That is not encouraged, because that's zero biosecurity. You have to have your animals enclosed. You got to close them up. You have to have a little corral for them. You have to limit their movement, because especially down south where you have a lot of wild birds because of the huge forested area.
Yeah. And the communal lands allow for no fences.
Right, and the communal
like
lands and everything roams all over the place.
Yeah.
And so we went in there, we did a little project with, we selected some farmers. We did a little project so that other farmers can see what we did, and they can replicate. So we went, and we got the necessary permits from forestry. We got these bush sticks cut out, build a little corral, have them put all that labor and thing. We just give them the wire that they cannot source. So, and the zinc roofing for the little coop, and we show them that will help you a lot.
When is the last time we had a reported case of AI in Belize? And does infection oftentimes lead to the eradication of an entire coop or farm of birds?
The last time was in 2015, where we had a low pathogenic. By that I mean that the birds showed no signs. In fact, the farmers said that their flock performed better. I guess they were watching them better then. But we didn't have any deaths or whatnot. There was a slight drop in production, if any, but it was picked up by blood tests. So we have the active surveillance that we talked about. We collect blood samples from our long-lived birds every 3 or 4 months, and then we test it at the Baja lab. And one of those came back positive, and so we followed up, going back to the farm, collecting more samples, and then sending it to the reference lab in the US. And they confirmed that we had a low pathogenic avian influenza, and so we did control measures. Now, because low pathogenic avian influenza H5, it was an H5 virus, then it can mutate from low pathogenic to highly pathogenic. So rather than wait for that to happen or see if it will happen, the first response is to depopulate or to kill all the birds in the infected flock. You don't want to save any, only the sick ones. You can't identify which ones are the sick ones. So the entire flock is depopulated, and by that we have to go in and kill the birds with gas, and then we have to dispose of the dead birds, the litter, the feed, everything that's there has to be disposed of properly. And then we do testing after that is done, cleaning and disinfection, to see if any virus is there. Once there's no virus detected, then the farmer can put back. So all that happened in Spanish Lookout in 2015. And we're happy to say that since we have had avian influenza for a long time in the region, Mexico, Guatemala, and El Salvador, Belize has been the only country in the region here where we have had an infection and we were able to eradicate it and declare ourselves free.
Wow.
because unlike Guatemala and El Salvador that still have it with them and they're vaccinating, we're not vaccinating.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. It
Yes.
leads me to my next question when it comes to impact. There's a clear economic impact that can occur if we do get this disease here in Belize. But what are some other impacts that can occur?
Let us address the economic impact a little bit more in detail. We have basically the production in the country is organized around what we call the broilers, which is the whole chicken, the regular chicken, the cuts that you get in the shop, and then the layers, the ones that are in the barns producing the eggs. Now the layers are long-lived birds, as he mentioned, long-lived birds. The broilers are short-lived. They're in 6 weeks, they're out in the market. So it depends which subsector it hits within the industry. So if it hits the broiler population or it hits the long-lived bird population.
That will depend on what shortage you may experience as
Right,
well.
then that would bring us to the product shortage
Yes.
that might hit the market.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to reassure the public that we always have a buffer stock in our freezers, right? So it's not like something that you would run short of chicken today because there's an outbreak today, no.
Yes.
But it can have a long-term impact and a short-term impact. The short-term impact would be the law of supply and demand in any economics. Grocers will jack up the price. That's on the, we won't, but we definitely know that the grocery stores will, because there's the demand for it and we are not supplying it, so they will raise the price. That's one. For us, we will fight to bring back production back in line. With the broilers, it can be done very quickly because they're short-lived birds, and in 6 weeks that we close 2 barns or 3 barns out of production, we can pick up the slack with other areas. So that's not a problem, much of a problem. But long term, those barns have to go a whole sanitation process. So they might be out of cycle for maybe 6 months. And then we come back full on stream again. With the long-lived birds, it's not easy to replace a hen that is laying eggs because it takes longer, right? So you have to get it from chick, raise it up to 3-4 months, and then put it in the barn to lay. By the time those eggs come on the market, a whole year might have gone. So it's more tricky with the long-lived birds. But however, we do have space in country, we do have capacity to ramp up production. I mean, we can ramp up production in 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask if it does affect the eggs.
Yes, it does.
It does.
It does, but it affects the hen, not the egg.
Okay.
It's not transmissible through egg. So if the hen is infected, those eggs are not
You can still have
it's
the
not,
eggs.
There's not a vertical transmission.
Okay.
But to ease the minds of the public, we don't put those eggs on the market.
Eradicate everything.
We eradicate that population.
Wow.
How closely do you all work with Baja?
Very close.
Very close. And how do you ensure that there's cohesion between your operations and your surveillance to ensure that they are not taking a step that perhaps you are not advising be taken?
We do the surveillance program jointly, and if it would crop up, we do jointly. We have a team, and our good doctor is part of that team. So we work together and we try as best as possible. I mean, there will always be issues that come up where we have differences of opinion.
Of course. Because you're operating as the association.
Because we're
while
operating
they're a government or entity.
Yeah.
They're operating at a regulatory, from a regulatory standpoint.
Yes.
We're operating from a production, economic impact standpoint. So we have to balance those differences and make decisions.
When it comes to public awareness and education, how can our viewers or anybody find out more information about this disease?
We have different areas you can get information, right? You can go to the CDC website in the US government website. You can go to PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization. You can go to WHO, World Health Organization. You can go to World Organization for Animal Health. And you can go to our website as well, BelizePoultry.com.
And how can customers or residents reach you if there is a possible outbreak?
No, this is key. Because if you go to our website, the phone numbers are there. But I can share that with you one time.
Yes, of course.
615-9694. That's me.
Okay.
That's my directly. Then the office is 822-3221. And remember, when the AI reared up its head in Latin America per se, because it started up in North America, but then it moved down south. You remember people were calling and saying, "Oh, the pelicans are dying," and because it was affecting the brown pelicans in Latin America. It was found from Honduras right down to Peru, that it was within that population. We responded to all of those together with Baja and forestry, right, Doc? So we have brought in the environment and forestry, wildlife department to work with us.
Yeah.
So we have managed to set up a task force that can respond to anyone's call or so. The other numbers I am not too sure, but you can go to the Baja website as well and you can get Baja numbers there, and if anything, I guess if you go to the wildlife section of forestry, you can get their numbers there as well. And you can call us and say, "Look, this is happening." We must be we respond.
Yes.
It's not that we don't respond. And we will ask the public, if it should come to police, we'll ask the public not to touch any dead bird or animal that they might come across. Because you don't know what killed them. And so leave it alone. Call the experts, they will go and deal with it.
That's even walking on the streets.
Yes.
Right?
Like
If a bird,
pigeons and so
I
forth.
mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Well, it happens, but you don't know what killed it. right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So
exactly.
don't touch it.
maybe it be, slingshot or
You
pellet
never
gun
know.
or something.
Well, gentlemen, we
Thank
want
you
to
so
thank you
much.
both for joining us. I feel confident this year and moving forward, knowing that you two fine gentlemen are protecting our beloved poultry industry as best as you can, because what would we do without that stew chicken and rice and beans for Sunday, or that fried chicken when we go buy it?
I
right?
just had a rich escabeche yesterday.
It
Thank you
translates
guys
to
so
home.
much.
There you go. No, but the Belizean public can rest assured that we are on top of the game. We are monitoring. It's not like we're not doing nothing. They don't see it, but we know what we are doing.
And we are very confident in the work that you all do,
Yes,
gentlemen. Thank you so
because-
much.
So we depend on the public, and especially the poultry producers. If you have any suspicion of any at all of avian influenza or mortality or health issues in your birds, call us or call the authorities, agriculture, Baja, and we're quite confident that we can do a quick detection once we're called, because Baja would go and investigate, and we would help Baja, and then if they get a sample, that sample can be quickly tested, and we can in a day or two we can know whether we have a suspect.
Wonderful,
Excellent.
gentlemen. Thank you so much. We are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to switch gears to the conversation with the Belize National Teachers Union President as they take a stand against salary injustice. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Coming up, these chefs and mixologists produce their creative best for their biggest party yet. This steel band has been making a difference for over 40 years. An island filled with beauty, a vibrant culture, and an iconic natural attraction. Now, where can this be? It's all next on this station.
Honda Nave, a partner you can rely on. Banquet, equipment, parts, service.
My name is Hermine Vega. El Patio Grill has been using Belize Bank for over 25 years. We only use Belize Bank at our restaurant. That's why we were able to win this trip to Europe. I had never been to Europe. We found out it was Madrid and we were excited and we went to this football match. The teams reached before the game and everybody was just outside, you know. You can't explain, the noise just roared like 3 blocks down the street, but when you got in there and you saw 70,000 people in there, that was amazing. I couldn't believe it was happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real, you know, because it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, I'd say. My lucky plus one was my son. He's 18 years old, so he was really excited and he enjoyed it as well. He said it's his best trip ever, so it's a priceless experience that we got. Belize Bank has always been there for me. Whatever transactions or whatever I need to do, they're always there for me. I would recommend everybody to use Belize Bank. It's the oldest bank in our country and they continue to do their best.
Energy powers our lives, and now we're powering a sustainable future together. This January 27th and February 3rd at 7:30 p.m., tune into the Energy Exchange Show, your guide to understanding Belize's journey towards sustainable energy. From solar power to electric mobility, learn how we're creating real solutions for everyday Belizeans. With topics like e-mobility and licensing regime, this show is designed to answer your questions about Belize's energy transition. Join us to see how we can all play a role in building a brighter, cleaner Belize.
Welcome back. This is our second conversation for this morning, and we have joining us on set Miss Nadia Kalisari, and she's the president of the Belize National Teachers Union. Good morning, Ms.
morning.
Hi,
good morning.
Happy New Year
Happy
to
New
you.
Year.
Happy New Year to both of you too.
So I have to start with this pressing question. It's the new year. In fact, it's January, and when we spoke to you in December, it appeared as if the union was gearing up to hit the streets, if you would. There were talks of a protest looming. January seems to be coming to an end, and we haven't seen any action. What's taking place there, Mr. President?
I love how you put it, because Belize is used to seeing BNTU in a more confrontational approach, and we have decided to change strategy. No, I want to come straight to what is on the minds of all Belizeans. The demonstration that the membership voted on. I made it clear in my interview with you all in December that the membership voted, and my members need to remember this, they voted for a demonstration in January. January 1st to January 31st.
They still got
still
2 more
January. And you see, the union is a very powerful organization, and my membership needs to understand that we don't have to flex our wings and show how powerful we are. We know our strength, we know what we're capable of, and sometimes it's good just to satter a little, watch the people as they make their moves, because like you're playing chess right now. And then you know when you need to come in. And some are not used to that, they're used to this. But it's 2025. You have to know how to achieve the same objective.
You've sattered basically for 20 days in January.
What appeared, we are sattering, and let me tell you what we're doing. Government used what we call the Pontius Pilate approach. We also call it the hush money approach. We just can't come out and say we're going to demonstrate against the government because government gave the monies to the management. What we needed to do is to ensure that the teachers who were supposed to be paid were paid. So what we have been doing since January 1st up to Friday was gathering data. The council met last week. They came with data, but it was not complete. So we sent them back. They voted to go back. So school reps are involved, some principals, because we need the data. We need to know how many teachers and the staff actually got the increment. Were they given everything that they deserve? Some were given 3 months when they owed them 6 months. We need to have accurate data. This situation is not just about government. It's about management. It's about school administrators. And it is about government, all 3 entities. And the data that we saw when the council came last week Saturday is pointing at all 3.
At first glance, what is the data saying in terms of an average of how many teachers got what is due to them?
I'm going to look at those who did not receive. We have over 200 teachers that still did not receive.
Wow.
Wasn't the commitment from government to have all of those teachers receive before Christmas at
That
least?
was government's commitment, but there's another part to that too. And again, some people, every time you say certain things about it, okay, Belize polarize everything, red and blue, red and blue, red and blue. So every time you're talking, you're either with PUP or you're, listen, as the new BNTU president, I'm going to call a spade, and I'm going to call an angel an angel.
Right ahead.
Government paid what they received. So what they got from the management, they gave that to the management. That is what they're saying. Discussing with some of our teachers, they can tell you that some principals and some vice principals who have responsibility over their section and appraisals and all that did not submit their stuff to the management. Therefore, the management could not submit it to government for them to be paid. So as a union, we got to be fair. So when we step out, our data will reflect the percentage that suffered because of administrators not carrying out their duties, management not doing their part, and government not doing their part. So we didn't just want to step out for the sake of stepping out because we're BNTU and we're powerful and we voted in a demonstration. We got to be a responsible body because we're about system change now. We want to change the system permanently, and that is what my members need to understand. This is not a fight just of fighting to get something instantly, instant gratification. Then it's done.
So it has
more to be a systematic issue.
Exactly. So we got to be smart with how we move.
When it comes to management, right? Because now that we're seeing government don't pay, you said and wash their hands off of it as they did pay. What is the conversation with the different managers? And I'm not just talking about public and government school. You also have your private schools. You have your religion institutions and so forth. What are those conversations like? Because I would imagine that the management styles are very different.
Let me say this to you. Officially, I have not conversed with the management. Unofficially, for a few of them that I know, we have conversed. And some of them also shared that they have given these things to GOB and that they misplaced the instruments. I can give you an example, and I have no regrets. I come from St. Cricket Medical College. I was I'm the first vice principal, just I'm seconded, right? But as the first vice principal, I had responsibility over human resource, which include appraisals, and working with department heads and so forth, ensuring that whole system. Before I left, even when I got into office, there were 2 years of missing appraisals. I dealt with all of those. I did the 3 years under my tenure. When I left that school, I can tell you that every teacher had 5 years. So when I'm told that they're missing stuff from my school, I was taken aback. I said, no man, I did that. And people had to sign, and I have all my paperwork. So I said, let me give my principal a call. I said, what's going on? He said, no, we submitted everything, and they are sending back, asking us for these things. But we adopted this approach. We would then send hard copy, but we'd also send soft copy. So all they have to do every time you have MOE asking back for this stuff, go into the email, forward the same thing back, showing we did our part. It's on your end.
But why are we redoing these things if there's a system?
Because within the ministry, it is not being addressed the way it ought to. They're used to give this, leave it here, give this, leave it here, give this is something for years. This is years. This is under both government. And that's why I'm saying we need systemic change. And so my members need to understand what is systemic change. Instant gratification is the reason why this system is like that. We jump up, we get a little, we keep quiet, the trend continues. Under my leadership, I don't want that. And I made that clear from the beginning. And I said to Minister Fonseca, first meeting, I'm here because there's so many issues and we need to solve them.
Yeah, and I'm sure that those teachers who did in fact receive their increments are pleased with the fact that they did in fact receive it. While we're addressing this issue of outstanding payments, we also have to look into the future to prevent this from happening any further. What's that discussion like at this point in time to ensure that when your term is over, that we don't say, well, after my term we still got 2 years outstanding because they never address it this and that time?
No, Paul, that won't happen in the Nader College. Paul, I'm adamant about this system being changed between now and the ending of 2025, because we have to be reasonable. It's not a snap your finger and it will happen. You have to allow it to take place. So one of the things I asked Minister Fonseca and his senior management team in December were monthly reports, where you are with the changes, monthly reports. You see what I don't like? First of all, he's a minister, he works with us. I listened to the Prime Minister saying that the BNTU and the Ministry of Education has an excellent relationship. We do have a good relationship, that's not a lie. We have been able to achieve so much when he is at the table. When Minister Fonseca is not at the table, it's like this with him and the senior managers. And that doesn't work for the BNTU. So, and I'm not going to hide it. We prefer when he's at the table because we achieve far more. Because he understands what it means to change the system.
I wanted, sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, so when's the last time you had him at the table?
We met with him 16th of December. So we met with him a couple of days before the payout because we were concerned about income tax deductions. We wanted to know the mechanism and the details surrounding the mechanism because we did not want our teachers to suffer. But the information we're getting today is that taxes were not deducted when we were told it was going to be deducted. The teachers will not suffer. Some got double payments. Some this month they're going to take that out one lick, and some teachers are already making very little. So they will. So there are a lot of things that went wrong with their mechanism of trying to do the right thing, but it should have been thought out a little bit more. But we have to, like I said, we don't want to jump in. We want to watch the movement, the consequences of certain things. So when we move, we're moving because the data is saying X, Y, Z. We're not moving in emotions anymore, Brother Paul.
I want to switch gears a little bit because as much as we understand that this salary situation is a very important issue and so forth, there are a lot more other issues that affect our teachers throughout the country. And I know that not every teacher is a member of the BNTU.
That is so true.
But
we have them on our list.
But I do also understand that, and it's not something that we hear about all the time. It's unfortunate that the only time we really hear about the BNTU is when it comes to salaries, right? And we want other people to understand that there's a lot more to being a teacher than being paid unfairly, right? You have lack of resources. You have a curriculum that is stifling to a lot of your teachers. In fact, you have a shortage of teachers. So I know we can't tackle all of these issues this morning, but I really want to get to the bottom line of how you all are planning to influence and address the system that is in place when it comes to how teachers operate in the classroom.
I love your question, very much so. As a responsible organization, and you hear me saying that quite often, we have two key pillars. One is to ensure that we safeguard education, and those things come under safeguarding education. curriculum. I love competency-based curriculum. In the past, it was called skill-based. So that is an excellent idea. You will never find me talking negatively about it. The challenge is the manner in which it was instituted, and it has a lot to do, excuse me, with the training style that they utilized at the time. They use an online approach. After working with the teachers at my college, that's Agricultural Medical College, most of my teachers prefer in person. So when they come to my office and I do one-on-one with them, they walk out a little bit more knowledgeable. They know how to go in and execute. The online did not work. And then the crash course situation, trying to get them to learn these things quickly, it didn't work. And you know why it didn't work? Because when you look at teacher training, I'm going back to when I became a trained teacher. Back in 93, 94, I started, I completed, because I did the Teachers College program. So coming out of there now, I could handle that because I had to do the practical aspect of it. I was properly guided. You don't find that under the teacher training institutions today. They don't get that level of support. So we have to look back at how our teachers are being trained. Are the persons who are responsible for training, are they excellent teacher trainers themselves, or do they need to go back and get themselves qualified as a teacher trainer?
Is that to say that teachers are struggling with the
ability to disseminate information? Yes, because we need to look at how teachers are trained in this country. It is an issue. It's a major issue. So the quality that you see in the classrooms is a reflection of these institutions, and these are some of the things that they don't want to talk about. But under my leadership, we're going to talk about it because we have to discuss it to improve it.
What's the evident disadvantage we're seeing for the children?
Let me... I want to respond to you this way. If I don't have $5 and you want to borrow $5 from me, can I lend you?
Of course.
But then you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. When it comes to literacy and competency in the classroom and so forth, that is a big challenge for a lot of your teachers.
It is.
Yes.
But if we put the proper training mechanism in place, it will work. That's why I love the MCCs and what I see being proposed for secondary school, because now it provides a way for them to get that refresher, get the training. There's a lot of things, a lot of good things that the ministry is doing that I love, and I have to big it up, But if it's not good, I'm going to call it out, and I'm going to make recommendations as well. So for this 2025, now the MCCs need to get rolling, and our teachers need to get involved in these training sessions, school leaders as well, because leadership has a lot to do with the direction of schools and the ability to influence teachers' performance. Because when I see the shortcomings of my teacher, I could say, 2:30 on Wednesday, I need to see you in my office, and that's because I'm going to point out to you what I saw. I have different strategies to show you how to conquer that area of weakness, but many school leaders, not all, don't have that ability to.
One of the criticisms we heard last year where the NCC is concerned was that while a lot of this money will be invested into training on the education side, there were concerns, I say criticism, but basically concerns and questions as to whether any of this money or enough would go into resourcing classrooms and resourcing teachers. You want a competency-based approach? Well, we need competency-based equipment and material as well in the classroom to ensure that the kids are engaged in the manner they're supposed to be engaged.
Very good question, Paul. The BNTU leadership is not blind, and the BNTU leadership is very much abreast of what's going on in those classrooms. And it's like I came right out of the fire, and the BNTU is a frying pan, right into the frying pan. The first meeting I attended was at their headquarters, Mahoney area. And that was the first thing. Myself and Sister Lord, the president of Belize branch, we went there. We represented the BNTU. We did not leave that meeting until they got the message that a portion of that funds must go towards resources. So when I saw the document coming out and resources being earmarked, we were pleased.
How much?
Okay.
I cannot give, there's no specific cost to that. But no, I also sit on the board. So when we look at those things, I'm going to be looking for resources because we know that they need the resources. We know you want this from me, but then I don't have the resources. Then the little salary that I have, you expect me to get the resources from me too. That needs to stop. That needs to stop. So right now, the proposal, the CBA that we're going to engage in, I have in there a resource allowance our teachers need to be given an allowance to acquire these resources. I'm dead serious about that.
Yeah.
Not only that, if you give a donation to a school, you can claim taxes on that. But when I take out of my purse every single month to buy those resources, I cannot claim that against my income tax. No, man. There are a lot of unfair system against educators in this country, and they have to stop.
And I think in terms of the type of resources that you are getting and so forth, like, yeah, you're going to leave crayons and some chalk and so forth here and there. But is it important? Am I going to utilize them? Am I going to utilize the readers? So I think that for teachers that are saying, I know what I need in my classroom, and I perhaps have a list. You know, I don't just want you all to give me the resources. I want to be also to tell you what resources
And that is the reason why I
need.
prefer you get a resource allowance.
Right.
So that you can buy the things that you know that your students will need. Students learn differently. And so the kind of equipment or resources that you will acquire must suit the learning style of your student. I picked up a teacher last week from Belmopan, and she just finished acquiring a projector because she needed one. She asked the school to acquire it. The school got one.
Yeah,
She's saying
and
in my
everybody have to
department.
share it,
Yeah,
right?
she says in my department it's 7 of us.
Yeah.
And then we're fussing over it, and it's not working. She acquired her own.
Yep. I've seen that. I've seen that personally.
Man,
I've seen that person.
so
And we had supportive parents and so forth that perhaps pool money together to assist in resources.
But I'll tell you, I had a brief discussion with Dr. Zabani about us working together because the BNTU is into partnership. When we are at odds with government or with other entities, we don't achieve. And that, in my opinion, that is the reason why education is where it is at right now. Because the union is constantly like this with the government. We find ourselves like this with management. And if we're like this with everybody, our members are not achieving. So you have to change your approach. It's about time that we correct it. So we have to work as partners. And my discussion with him is this. I know every time ministry is actually giving away devices, it goes to the students. But I am responsible for those instructions. So you have a laptop, so how am I going to impart that knowledge to you when I don't have one? So let's look at providing the teacher with the device. And if you provide the teacher with the device, you're actually reaching more students because I have a device, I have a projector, I can reach far more students.
Let me
than
ask,
if you alone have a device as a student and I don't.
Let me ask a question on another topic. But how many teachers have you seen, if you have any data or just by observation, us lose, at least in the last year, to the U.S. or other professions, like a call center per se?
I don't have concrete data, and that's something that I know I need to gather. But the data that was shared with me by MOE is that the teachers who are coming, who are supposed to join the profession with the teacher training qualification, are going to the call centers. 80% of them.
Wow.
You remember under Minister Farber, if you wanted to do primary education, you got a scholarship.
Yes.
A lot of those people did not end up in the classrooms. They did not.
But and for the U.S., is that something you're seeing a trend?
I don't have the number, but
is it a trend?
It is a trend, and they have a lot of them right now preparing to go again because they hear of the wonderful salary and everything and the classroom size and all of that. So they want to go.
Of course.
Yeah, but I feel like it goes back to your initial statement, Ms. Callis, about the training of the teachers and what we do have in the classroom and the outcome and the impact on the students. When it comes to the way that we are looking at education in Belize, as a people and as a society, are we doing the right thing?
We're trying to do the right thing, and we're doing a couple things right. And I just can't say that everything is wrong because you're here, Paul is here, I am here, so we have to be doing something right.
Yes.
No, honestly, let's look at that. But where we are right now with the new teachers, we need to work with them a little bit more. We need to ensure that they get the skill set. And like I said, some of the initiatives at the ministry, I love them because they are geared directly towards those things, correcting those things. But what we need to ensure now is that we have a monitoring mechanism where at every juncture we evaluate, we make corrections so that there is something that is sustainable throughout the years, and it's not just for now. And then I do this little program with you and then I move on and I don't check. That is key, because one of the things I tell you about teachers, some of them, they perform excellently during the internship, and then after that It's just like they didn't do that, they didn't get that training. How do you ensure that they continue to implore those strategies, carry out that behavior? How do you ensure that?
But it's a matter
and that's
of
what we need to do.
It's not
we need
only
to
a
make
matter
it be a
of
lifelong thing as opposed to just for an internship.
But it's not only a matter of passion, but a matter of morale within the school system as well, and the administration, and it's an entire thing. But here's another question. It's election year. We can't get around that. As one of the most powerful and influential unions in the country, how are you leveraging that to get what you want?
Let me respond to you this way. Election year or no election year, whenever you ask the people to vote for you, you are committing to improving the lives of citizens. So they are still the government, and they have that legal responsibility to ensure that they improve the quality of life for all of us.
Yeah.
So when I approach them with the same mantra that they campaign to us with. So election or no election now, I'll show you something else though. We met on Friday, the joint unions, and we have been reviewing the sorry about that. We have been reviewing the reports, and remember the 2 frozen increments. We were told that if the reports are showing that the funds are there, that then we could get those increments, and we have seen that. That's why we're so happy when the PM hit the airwaves and spoke about how wonderful the economy has been performing. We've been doing better than some of the Caribbean countries. We're happy. All the unions, we're happy. Members, we're so happy because now we can address that concern. All right. So are we doing it because it's an election year? No. Figures.
Was it is a different? Is it a different conversation in the meeting room than what we're hearing on the airwaves? About how the economy is performing?
What do you mean in the meeting room? We met as joint, meaning the unions met. We haven't met with government as yet. We wrote government from around early November, late October, with our framework for the new CB and all of that. And we've been trying to get a meeting. We've been trying to get a response.
Hopefully
and we have not been able to get any of those things. So Joint realized that we now have to basically give them a date. So they have up to the 24th, which is this Friday, to tell us when we will meet. You can't ignore the workers of this country. You cannot.
Ms. Callis, I really wish we had more time to tackle all of the issues that we want to discuss this morning. But for our viewers, as we are ending and wrapping up this conversation, what can we expect from the BNTU moving forward? What is your 2025 vision?
Our 2025 vision is to impact teachers professionally and personally. We cannot just do one without the other, because if you're not happy at home, you cannot perform in the classroom.
Indeed.
So in April, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, we have for the first time 4 days convention in Punta Gorda. We intend on mobilizing our entire membership, which is over 3,500. So we have to look at it from like a political party kind of way, how you're moving your people, all of that. And so we're looking to a number of entities to partner with, to sponsor, to make it possible. One of them being government, not hiding it. We're going to ask them to be our partner. Actually, we're partners. We're not enemies. We might be on the opposite side of the fence for certain issues, but we're not. There, we'll be adjusting unionism. We'll be adjusting the curriculum and all those other matters. We have the election of officers, which has to do with the first vice all the way to the treasurer. My post is not up for election, and I'm saying it publicly. In our constitution, it speaks of 2 years for national officer, no by-election for national officers. So Brother Harry could have acted up to now, but he decided that he didn't want to do that. So an election was called, so that gives me 2 years. And when it was internally challenged, so when we got the legal opinion, I realized and I said, okay, fine, you saved me time for campaigning. I'm going to put this into fixing this convention and getting members to understand this is your new BNTU, this is the direction in which we're going. But you started off with something that I want to capitalize on. We don't want to be agitating only for salaries. We want to agitate, if we have to, for systemic change. It's about time that educators are treated with respect. And I have to say, there is a listening ear now at the ministry to make that possible. And I'm looking forward to us collaborating. This Thursday, the 23rd, you asked me about managers earlier. We're having a stakeholders meeting. Managers will be there for all levels, primary and secondary. And we will be there. and different entities in which that we do business with. Teachers having issues with social security, income taxes, a lot of things. But we're there to discuss how we're going to improve education. That is key. And when you're talking about improvement, you have to discuss the elephant in the room. You can't run away from a lot of things. We have to be honest with each other. But trying to appease this one in this corner and that one in the corner is the reason why education is the way it is right now. All right? And lastly, BNTU members, you have to have faith in your leadership. You have to pay keen attention to what we're doing. Everything that we're doing, we share with your branch presidents, we share with your secretaries, because they sit at the council. They have a responsibility to communicate with you as well. I know you wanted to hear from me before today. I chose not to say anything much because we are data driven. And when we move based on what the data is saying, not emotions. I want you to understand that. Emotion gives us instant gratification. We don't want that anymore. We don't want you to start to work 1st of September and you cannot be paid on the 30th of September. There need to be a mechanism in place to make that possible. As the labor law says, fair day's work, fair day's pay.
Yes. Excellent. Well, President Kais, thank you so much for your time. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take another break, and when we come back, it's all about the Global Leadership Summit that's coming up at the end of this week, and we have joining us none other than the chairman, Mr. Kern Timbrell. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
And I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer, with these online that Belize Bank offered, is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
Gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
It's clearly documented that we have been having, as a planet, an increase in incidence of cancers. And remember, cancer is a genetic disease.
When you now look at somebody's DNA or their genetics, it can tell you everything about a person. So what we use next generation sequencing to do in particular is to look at hereditary cases of diseases.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Okay, and welcome back to Open Your Eyes, joining us for our final conversation. It's all about inciting change with the Global Leadership Summit. And we have in studio with us Kerm Timbrell, and he is the chairman of the Global Leadership Summit Belize. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
It feels
here.
special to be in this room, I must admit.
It's because we get a new, I think the lighting changed a little bit, but thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mr. Timbrell. Let's get into the Global Leadership Summit and what it is and why it's important for us to even be having such a summit.
Okay, so if with your permission, I usually ask to read out what we've actually mailed out on our flyer because it kind of summarizes what we are going to be doing. So it goes like this. Our team is Design Your Tomorrow. It says leaders, professionals, entrepreneurs, and change makers. When was the last time you paused to reflect on yourself? We're talking about earlier. Your team or your organization. Are you operating at full potential? Or are there cracks, inefficiencies, or areas running on just fumes, right? This year's GLS Summit is your opportunity to pause, recalibrate, and reignite. So, discover how to heal what's holding you back, overcome frustration, and gain actionable tools to elevate both your personal and professional life. It almost sounds what Ms. Collis was talking about, right? Join a powerful network of experts from diverse sectors and learn how to break through barriers and achieve lasting success, right? It's time to breathe fresh energy, guys, into your work. Come on. Fresh energy. Reignite your passion. Your passion is your fuel. And create meaningful change. That's what she was talking about.
Yes, she was.
You know, these organizations, some of them, if you look at it, they have the influenza, right? The bird flu. We're talking about the bird flu. We'll have organizational.
He was listening to all of our interviews this morning. But I really appreciate that intro because those are conversations that happen in the workplace all the time. What is excellent leadership? How do you lead an organization, an institution, and how do you ensure that your employees and your co-workers are, impactful? They are doing their work. Yes, they're being incredible human beings, but how are they happy outside of work and inside of work too? How do you strike that balance?
All right, so we specialize in those soft skills. I love that about the GLS. Last week I was on the show and I came here with a socks that was 5 inches above the ankle. And this is how we're seated, and so my pants is kind of up, and so
show your socks.
You have to see your socks.
I was showing my actual feet. And it caused me to feel very I felt subconscious.
Okay.
And so it affected my ability to communicate well. Even though maybe the host didn't recognize it. I was able to articulate myself well.
Interesting.
You see? And I wasn't relaxed. We are going to be talking this year about the importance of being relaxed and how it can affect how you perform at work. Ms. Callis talked about that. It's addressing the individual because you're the person who shows up. Okay? And so being here on the set, I was already here. I couldn't do a change of socks. I thought about bringing some socks and leave it there for people who come with short socks.
I like that idea.
But, it was outside my span of control at the time. So I would have had to have the ability to pivot. And this is where training comes in. We are going to be talking about your span of control. What's within your ability to change. And we're going to put science behind it to let you understand that when you do X, Y, and Z, within your control, because we all have things that's outside of our control. We hear that in the Scullies. We heard that in the guys who were talking earlier about the influenza and the bird flu. There are things that's outside our control. But there are things that's within our control that if we understand the science behind it, it will cause us to perform in a place of excellence. And I've used some of the content to be able to do the work that we're doing, obviously, because it's so relevant, right? But I really love the previous shows because what they were talking about is exactly the area. You heard Ms. Callis talk about the fact that the teachers did well in the internship, but they followed through. Some people feel like, oh, you can only come to a summit 1 year or do a little internship and that's going to fix it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Employers, wrong, wrong, wrong. Organizational leaders, wrong, wrong, wrong.
That is just one training for the year and done.
It's fluid. It changes. We're trending. We study, we do the research, we do the data. We have the experts that's come. And so this year also we're going to be talking about fixed mindsets versus a growth mindset, and how that connect to the mental health issues today. How many people aren't having mental health issues?
Everybody have mental health issues.
Like it's growing. Even in the workplace, people that you think, oh, you have a stable job, you get paid a good amount of money. You should be happy and mentally well. But then after work, you have all these destructive behaviors. You go home, you have self-destructive behaviors even in the workplace. And so something is off with us. But I have to say that every time we have this discussion, I endorse GLS 100%.
Well, thank you, Paul and April.
For me, the selling points are actually what it is. It is facts, transformative, life-changing, and you sit at these events and you can't not help but be drawn in to the content, and you can't help but relate to the content.
I have a question about all of this though, because all of this sounds beautiful, it's wonderful, great conversations. I would understand that 2-day layout is going to be top notch. How do you measure the impact after you're done?
Well, we get I'm boots on the ground, I get the calls. And I can tell you personally how I've shifted. My life has shifted drastically. I use the laws of execution to be able to run this event. There's been a lot of fires in the United States. In Hollywood, there's people from our faculty who has been affected. I have not seen it. Because the laws of execution tells me that when I implement 4 laws, I can calculate the outcome of my summit or whatever my vision is for the time. And so I've shifted out all the noises. And they teach you that. That's one of the laws that they teach you. What you need to tune out. The importance of being focused. Right? And so I've used this content to be able to say, you know what, that's a distraction. It's important, but it's not, it doesn't fit this time. So I have to be focused because we are about excellence and we want to ensure that our outcome will be sure.
Let's talk.
So it's shifted my life.
Let's talk a bit about how we've seen the summit evolve over the years. This is the 6th one. What is different from this 6th summit? And I know a lot of it remains the same because the format remains pertinent and it remains relevant. But what's the difference from the 6th summit to what was at the initial or the inaugural summit here in Belize?
Paul, it's building one thing upon the other. You cannot isolate what we're going to talk about this year from what we talked about last year because when these presenters present, they give you certain foundations, but then you have to build the structure, you have to build the building, and it's fluid. It keeps growing, it keeps changing. You're not the same person that he was last year, are you?
No.
Right?
No, not at all.
We've changed
completely.
We have new responsibilities. We have a different outlook. We require new skills if we're going to be able to manage ourselves well. And therefore, that's the way we do it. We do a lot of research, a lot of data from major universities, the world's largest research organizations, and we come back with the data. This is what you have to do now. This is what you have to do now. And so it really fits into what Ms. Callis talked about, because you go and you do all of these internships, but you gotta implement.
There's no sustainability.
And you're gonna discover as you implement new things. I've learned so many new things just in my preparation in the last 2 months for the summit. But I was able to draw from what I learned to be able to navigate properly.
So let's talk about the summit itself. Are there still spaces available for persons to get in? What's the layout going to be like? Where, when, time, all of that.
Okay, we still have spaces. We still have spaces. Let me say this. I'm appalled and I'm actually impressed with Mennonite community. Spanish Account is registering so many people, these businesses. But when you look at their business, what do you see? Growth, expansion,
success,
innovation, success. Because they understand the power of GLS. They understand the relevance of our content
But
and
they
how it
also
applies.
have the monies to invest.
That's a part of growth and
yes, you have to have the
success.
money. I mean, you know, you just have to. There's certain things that are non-negotiable.
And willing to invest.
Not that all that money just come drop out of the sky.
No, of course not. You have to be willing to invest, and you have to invest smart.
Right.
So
That's
yes.
right. Let me quickly just breeze through some of the main topics. So it's gonna be okay. Forgive me.
No problem. Yes. But
So
it is going to be
the
this
summit is from
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday.
Yes.
That's
I
right.
saw a fact sheet
2
come up
days.
just
Yes.
now.
It's gonna
2
be.
days.
We always say in the summit we're a fire hydrant drink of content. You know, we are. We're gonna listen. Content is gonna be there.
Yes.
We're gonna inspire you. We're going to be doing, like I mentioned earlier, about mental health issues. So we're going to go into the emotional intelligence. We're going to do an emotional examination on you and show you why you're broken, why you're hurting, and things that you can do.
I really appreciate
Right?
that.
Then we're going to go into inspiration. We're going to put success stories. This is what the powerful people are doing. This is what the successful people are doing, and break it down, and then give you the actionables. This is what you do. This is what you can do.
I have a question when it comes to the mental health aspect of this, because I think a lot of the times like you rightfully mentioned, Paul, you have a good job, you're being paid well, and so forth. Why are we unhappy, or why do we feel this mental instability in our personal
Did you
lives?
ask me that? You must saw our lineup.
I'm just stating that this, and I think that as somebody that we're all workers, we're
Right.
all doing some sort of service to their community, but perhaps we might not feel like the service is impactful, or if it's enough, or we see positive change in our society. So how can I
become more
take
happy?
out the back?
It's like how are we living our dreams but still unhappy?
Yeah, and
I can't believe you were saying this. Listen to me. We have a professor from Harvard who, his topic this year, science-based. How do you increase your happiness as a person?
I personally think that
it's amazing.
Yes, but I personally think that a lot of people are in different spaces that they don't want to be in, but they have to be in order to pay the bills and do the work.
Do you this year we have some live speakers?
Oh my gosh, we have Dr. Sam Adeyemi.
Tell me about them.
He's a powerful force coming out of Africa. He speaks on the world's largest stage, at GLS, and I've been following him. He's changed my life in so many ways, and I've been following the different places he go. I'm looking at the stage where this guy speaks. It's just so powerful, right? Wow. Well sought out. He's a bestseller. His books are in Barnes and Nobles, Walmart, Amazon. He's becoming a household name. Okay. Very, very powerful, influential.
That's
leader.
one.
That's one coming this year, and I'll explain. And so, man, he specializes in shift. He wrote a book called Shift. How do you shift your life?
Yeah.
How do you shift your outcomes? He's a shift specialist, right? So, I tell folks, like, if you plant him in south side, he changes it to a north side. That's what he's literally done. So he's going to be talking about personal shift, organizational shift, and national
live
in person. So we've seen these summits, like we said, excellent work and so forth, and as Paul said, it's a premium service with a premium price, and so why is it, or why should persons pay for this summit, and what is the quality of the information that they're going to receive? You're talking about life-changing conversations.
Of course.
So why should they attend this conference?
Let me tell you who should pay first. Okay. Leaders, professionals, bankers, teachers, political leaders, pastors, board members, coaches, entrepreneurs, people in the service industries. You should pay. When I came into the summit, I realized, wow, this is a powerful community because of the people that we have, our network, our faculty. It's the world's most powerful minds. It's the world's most highly accomplished people. And so I'm like, oh wow. So I had access to the community. You know what was the first thing I did? I remember so clearly, I spent $500. I tell them I want all the content I can buy because I'm developing a library. You have to have a good library if you're going to be able to move forward in life.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? And so I invested $500. That was my first investment. I stopped counting. And I believe I do have the best library.
Okay.
If you are going to have the answers, the solutions, you will have to understand the power of mentorship. And we're going to be talking about that too, the power of mentorship in your life as a person, right?
I am a firm believer of mentorship, and we have a culture in Belize where we don't want to give the new person space. We don't want to give the young person space. We don't want to hold on.
And then you have young people. You have a young generation that don't necessarily want to be mentored.
That's true.
Then you have some people that feel like, all right, I know it all, and what can you teach me?
And we have more young people in our society than we do have older people. So we have a flush of different personalities that clash in the workspace. But we are out of time. So how can persons purchase tickets and so forth for the Leadership Summit, the Global Leadership?
They should go to www.glsbelize.org. And when you go there, don't register yourself. Please bring a team of people with you.
Okay.
Because people need to have access to this kind of content. Some people don't want to come as a leader of the organization. Bring a team. We have science to prove that it's better when you learn together as a team. And so if you go to our website, there's a phone number, 615-7806, where you can WhatsApp, call, whatever. We're there. We're going to answer. We're going to help you navigate through the process. It's so easy, you know. And jump in. You still have a couple days to
the
register.
venue?
It's going to be at the Bliss.
Okay.
At the Bliss Center for Performing Arts, because we don't only do the training. Paul can tell you, right? We express arts and culture.
I have a ticket, and
you have a ticket. You intend to use it
this year.
Of course.
Just need to get some clearance if my boss is in there.
And it begins at 9 a.m.
It begins at 8 to 4:30.
Oh, so you can't come. That work, Paul.
Well,
on Thursday.
Don't worry about that.
All right, cool. That's perfectly fine. But wonderful conversation. Congratulations on your 6th annual Global Leadership Summit. If you are able to attend and you want to change your life, as Mr. Timbrell said, you want to get on that right away. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
And with that, we want to say a big thank you to all of our guests that tuned in this morning and had that conversation with us. Always important to have these conversations here on Open Your Eyes. And thank you to our viewers for staying with us all the way to the very end right here on Open Your Eyes. It is January 20th, Paul. And if it is your birthday today, we want to say a happy birthday to you from all of us here in OYE and Channel 5.
We actually have some birthday shout-outs.
And we do have a birthday shout-out, a very special birthday shout-out from a very special person.
Yes, so we want to say happy birthday to Courtney, who's 15 years old, and Corey, who is 6 years old, respectively. And these are the children of
our very wonderful co-host, Isani Cayetano. So this birthday shout out, Courtney and Corey, is coming to you with lots of love from your dad.
And from us,
from us here. But you have to, he did take the credit today.
Of course.
Right? And of course, I am sure he's not here with us because he is at home celebrating this kid's birthday. So happy birthday to you, Corey. Happy birthday to you, Courtney. We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day today from all of us here in Channel 5, and of course, especially from your dad. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oye@channel5belize.com.
It's the start of the week, so you can catch us live on Facebook for the entire weekday mornings of this week at Open Your Eyes BZ.
And of course, on all the highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. And of course, do us a favor and join us again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your mind,
and of course your hearts open.
We'll see you soon, Belize. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.